So, Mark, this is, as Danielle probably told you, this is a screening meeting. So we're not going to discuss everything today. Just to get to know each other and kind of, have a first, first contact, understanding kind of where we're coming from and where you want to be. I hope we'll have more opportunity to discuss more things in detail. Also, when you're not at the airport and you're more at ease. Okay, so I will have just a couple of questions. You probably know about us very briefly, that we are a very early stage company. So we are a company with cutting edge technology. We're developing artificial intelligence and natural language processing technology for personalized learning. So we're developing more than you've seen on the site. We are funded by the NSF. So we were very well funded to develop the technology, and we spent quite a bit of time doing that. And now we're ready to actually do the marketing. So the reason why you've seen this job opportunity. By the way, how did you find out about it?
I'm trying to remember specifically where I found it. I saw the listing somewhere. I can't. It was posted somewhere. To be honest, I don't remember where I found it, but I went. Okay. I went directly to your website ultimately, and then I sent an email to the contact. I think it may have been to you directly with my resume. So that's how I found it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember if it was EdSurge maybe?
It might have been EdSurge, as a matter of fact.
It might have been. Okay, it's not important. I was just curious. Okay, so we are at the point now that we want to bring really a team member to the company. So this is not a kind of a position where we'll be telling you what to do. The position for a candidate that understands how to do the marketing and sales and how to develop relations with industry partners. And overall, I try to understand what is a good product market fit, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of where we are. Now, about you, I'd like to first ask you just a little bit about, of course, yourself and what got you into sales and marketing in this.
Wow, that's okay. Well, I've been in sales and marketing for a long time, the bulk of my career. If you looked at my resume, you can see I've had some executive roles as well. But typically those have been in relatively small companies where you wear a lot of hats, as you, I'm sure, can relate to. Yep. And, but I guess the bulk of my energy has really gone into trying to build the revenue side of the house, trying to build the customer base. In some cases, even helping to try to figure out what that market is. What is the addressable market? What is the problem we're trying to solve? Who are the people that we should be targeting? And then what are the best ways to go after that market? And in many cases, for me, that's been in a business to business type model where eventually there are people going out to call on customers, but it's sometimes been business to consumer, or similar to your model where there is an ability to sign up to use a version of the product and then have a more enterprise version of that product for a broader use case. But I started in sales really not too long after college. I had a finance degree, and I was in finance for a couple of years, and then I was at a large company, one of the few I've ever worked at, but it was a large company out of college called Hughes Aircraft Company. And I got into a management training program, and my mentor was the marketing, basically they called him back then the general manager. So he had marketing responsibility for all the product lines for the whole division. And the funny part was we were talking, I guess, late stage in the management development program, and he was asking me what I'd like to do. And I said, well, I think I'd like to go into sales or something related to that, but I understand I probably can't do that here at Hughes. And he said, well, why not? And I said, well, it seems like they're all engineers. And he just laughed. And he said, well, yeah, because, we're an engineering company. And so engineers do everything here, but you don't have to be an engineer to be able to sell our product. So he actually was my first sponsor and helped me get my first sales position. And I've been in technology sales ever since. That's almost 30 years, I guess. since
I
then.
see. Okay. So I know you have quite a rich background and you've worked for several companies. I am wondering, of all these experiences you had in different companies, which organization that you worked for was kind of more satisfying for you, gave you the best job satisfaction, and what do you think in that what in that organization or in the context enabled that kind of job satisfaction for you?
It's a very good question. Well, I guess one of the more successful outcomes, and also a company where I was at, where I was involved for quite a while and had multiple roles, was eCollege. I don't know if you're familiar with eCollege. They've probably been gone long enough now that maybe people wouldn't remember.
Yeah, but no, I was not familiar with it, to be honest.
So eCollege was one of the early learning management system providers. So the company was founded in the late 90s, about the same time as Blackboard and WebCT and a few others who are even no longer around as well. And we had a slightly different approach. The original learning management systems that are now deployed at almost every college in the U.S. And many high schools as well, they were software applications initially. And we were one of the very first companies to employ a software as a service model. That was even before that term was available. We're actually called an application service provider, as a matter of fact. And so the premise of the business was not just to be an LMS, and just to sell our platform to the schools, but to really do everything that a school needed in order to be able to offer online courses. So we had an instructional design team. We helped develop courses. We trained faculty. We provided the technology. We provided the help desk. We had a client services organization that helped the schools manage the class scheduling, all of that stuff. So it was kind of a unique offering back then. This is late 90s. But we were competing against Blackboard and other companies who were selling their platform more in a traditional software model. So first of all, we were helping to try to blaze this whole new category for online learning. That was one obstacle or one challenge. Long before people had bought into the notion that you could get a degree online, right? There was a lot of, most schools were frankly quite suspicious of the whole idea of being online. And then the second thing was we had this model that was just, even Salesforce that was early days even for Salesforce. So it wasn't a typical model where people, logged into an internet-based application and used it. They still bought software and they deployed it on their own servers with their IT teams. And so there was also the reticence on the parts of organizations, especially colleges, about, well, gee, we don't know if we trust these guys, to be able to put our student information in there and to be able to have our faculty using this thing. Will it be up? And, what's all of that good stuff. So, but we stayed very true to the mission. And then we really focused on the types of organizations where our value proposition resonated, which was then the for-profit institutions, the for-profit colleges.
How did you figure that out, Mark?
Well, it was interesting. We happened to win a couple of early deals. One was with National University out in California, who's not a for-profit, but they act like one. They were very progressive and very much an early adopter of online programs. And then we had DeVry University, which is a for-profit. And so we made all the traditional mistakes. We hired a bunch of salespeople. We were spending $1 gazillion marketing in the Chronicle of Higher Education and all these different trade publications, and we were trying to slug it out in the market with Blackboard and so on. And then we had a strategic offsite meeting. I'll never forget this. It was like the fall of 2001, and we had just gone public. Barely was able to go public before all the money's dried up and the .com bust kind of happened. And so we had enough cash in the bank that if we could get our act together in the next year, we could get to profitability. So we had this very contentious offsite with the executive team, and we made a conscious decision to basically ignore about 80% of the market and focus exclusively on the for-profits, because we had a couple of very large schools or a couple of customers that were paying us seven-figure dollars, over $1 million at that time, for us to be their complete outsource partner. So we said, okay, instead of trying to compete with Blackboard, who's selling a $25,000 or $50,000 software product, we need to find those types of institutions that understand total cost of ownership and understand outsourcing, and that resonate with that value proposition. So that's what we did. And we were able to streamline. So we completely reorganized marketing, all of our product development. I mean, it was an enlightening and also a very critical moment in the company's history, because we were able to align the whole company against that mission. And we bet the company on it. And, of course it might not have worked, but it did. And about 7 years later, I guess it was 2007, we sold the company to Pearson for almost $500 million. So worked out well. But it was touch and go. I will tell you, it was not a foregone conclusion that we were going to be one of the winners.
So what aspect of that job actually made it fun for you?
I think it was, it probably didn't seem fun perhaps at the time, but actually trying to figure that out, because here's what was really cool about that. And I've been in a couple of companies like this since, and there's just a feeling when you're with people who are really passionate about what they're doing, and that you have the ingredients, you have the possibility of doing something really special. And you think you're in the right place, and you think you have the right team, and everybody's excited, and you're working really hard. And it's not that you always agree on things, but even when you disagree, you figure it out, and you work hard together, and it's all about, the success of the organization. And those ingredients are what enabled us to stay focused on what we were doing and ultimately find success. And so it was partly figuring out the right thing to do, and then it was being able to execute, and then find the right people, do the right things. And then I think the other thing I learned from that experience was, and what I've tried to take with me, and at least certainly what I believe in, is a very customer-centric model of thinking. Mm-hmm. In other words, instead of trying to think about what are the metrics I'm worried about for me or for my company, or how much revenue I'm going to generate, or how many sales I'm going to close, what are the things that I'm doing that are solving problems for customers? And if I learn how to do that well, or we learn how to do that well as an organization, and we can replicate that, and then we can build strong customer relationships, typically the rest of those metrics will take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings me very nicely actually to my next question, which is a little bit more specifically about your approach to sales and marketing, the style, philosophy, what's your approach to marketing and sales?
What's my approach to marketing and sales? Are you asking that question that would relate to what you're doing, or just what I've done in the past? I want to answer the question.
How do you, so you go to a company, what you're thinking marketing and sales, what are the first, how do you approach how you're going to determine what the strategy will be, for example, or how the sale will happen? How do you approach the problem of, okay, here's we have a company, here's we have a product, now we need to do marketing and sales. How do you approach that?
Well, here's how I would probably answer that, or how I will answer that. I have worked for a number of early stage companies. I've worked for, middle to later stage companies. So I've seen both. I've evaluated lots of early stage companies. So imagine, I've worked for 6 or 7. So, and I've looked at lots of others, either that I didn't end up working for, or that I was maybe partnering with over the years too, right? Because there are a number of emerging companies and areas that ultimately became partners as well. But what I always try to figure out is, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? What is the problem that the company is solving for the customer? So at least as somebody who's trying to evaluate that, either from the standpoint of joining the company or being in the company, because that helps me to start to figure out, okay, if I understand the problem we're trying to solve, and if the market agrees that that is a problem that needs to be solved, then do we have the things in place, whether it's technology, people, service, all of those things, whatever the right solution set is, to solve those problems? And then is that scalable? And if it is, then what is the best way to get to the addressable market that has those problems in a cost-effective way? And that could be, through a direct sales force. It could be through a distribution partner. It could be a combination of those things. It could be all web-based if it's direct to consumer. So I guess, I don't know if I'm answering it specifically enough, but to me, it starts with just understanding what the value proposition is, and what the problem is that the business is trying to solve. And then maybe broadening that out to, are there other things that I can do with that same customer base once I have them as a customer? And are there other ways that I can grow that footprint? But I guess that's what I start with, and then I figure out the tactical elements based on that knowledge.
And that brings me to my next question then.
Okay.
I guess it's a kind of quite common question. So from your experience, what has been your better moment in sales and marketing, like your greatest achievement, something that you would kind of say, well, look, I'm very proud because here's what I did in that company or in that case? In connection to sales and marketing, of course.
Well, going back to the e-college thing, I was definitely on the right side of that argument. I was one of the people that having been out in the market trying to sell against a competitor in a business model that didn't suit ours very well, I was one of the strongest proponents for betting the company on this more narrow focus and so on. And so I feel like that was, obviously in hindsight, that was a good moment. The other thing that was, I'm not sure if this is going to answer the question directly, but one of the experiences I had was at Deltac, and I don't know if you know of Deltac either, but they're in a group of companies known as OPM providers or full program management providers, but similar to e-college, but even more so. Deltac and Embinet and other companies, what we would do is we would go in and meet with universities, and we would actually present a business opportunity where we would run the entire online program, not just the technology like we were doing at e-college or even the course development, the platform and so on, but everything, lead generation, marketing, admissions, everything. So basically we became the division of online learning for the college. And I think that experience taught me a lot about just the complete student life cycle, at least at a college level, and all of the myriad of things that are happening across a complex organization, and how important customer onboarding is as part of building long-term relationships with customers. Look, if you're selling, I guess if you're selling anything, you want to have that. Yeah, even if you're selling ice cream, I guess you want the person who comes into your ice cream shop to have a great experience, right? Yeah. Because they're going to tell their friends and they're going to come back, even if it's only a $3 transaction. But when you're talking about a 7-figure transaction that's over a course of many years in long-term contracts, you obviously want to have you want to have that kind of basis for the ability to prolong that relationship and have them renew, and also as for reference customers and so on. But so I guess it was just kind of learning the value of how important it is to build build strong customer relationships even very early in the stage where you're before even the ink dries on the contract.
Okay, so Mark, we are running out of time, and I want to make sure I give you some opportunity to ask a few questions. So I'm going to stop here asking my questions. We have a couple of minutes. Is there any questions for this call that you would like to ask about us?
Yes, I could probably ask questions for a while, but I did do a lot of research. It's very exciting what you've been able to produce. So I'll ask you two questions, I guess, if we have time. One is, where do you go from here? What is it? What you've built this incredible internet librarian, as I understand it to be sort of coined. Where do you see this going? And then the other thing I would ask related to that is, I understand you had some angel financing and NSF grant money, but what's the plan for scale in terms of additional capital, or is it not even necessary to raise additional capital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where do we go from here? So first, let me tell you that you have only seen the beginning of the product. So we have been quite well funded. We have gotten $1 million from NSF, not for marketing, for the development of the technology. And what you have seen is only the first product, which is the Internet Librarian, as you put it. The solution that we want to promote and that will help us with the scaling up is actually personalized learning. So we are building artificial intelligence technology to make sure that we offer what is now elite personalized learning education to every child. And the technology that we'll launch will probably be called Chusito Personal Learning. It doesn't really, but it will have, it will build the representations of what students actually know about the topics, and make recommendations for that will enable the teacher to build, and the student even, to build personalized curricula for students. So that's where we're going. So Chusito Search and Learn is our first product that filters the web. Our next one will be making digital content recommendations per student. And of course, we are in schools. It is important for us to be in schools to have users. We are in schools, though, primarily right now, like going directly to schools to collect the data that we need to test the personalized learning solution. And
sure, that makes sense.
And our model, which of course it's early stage, so we may change it along the way, but our primary target is to do API licensing. Our technology is innovative and fundamental, and can be integrated with learning management systems, with industry partners. So that's where we're going with marketing and sales. So we're going, and the person that will come to Chusito to become a team member and not just someone that works for Chusito is taking up this role, understanding what is a good market fit, who will be a good partner or partners for us, industry partners, what kind of where are these partners, what are their pain points, how they want to stay relevant in education, where is our solution making a big difference in that space, so we can actually go directly into all schools via different partner licensing agreements. So that's where we're going to marketing. But of course, this is our current idea about where we're going. When you are an early stage startup, determining what is the better product market fit is part of the process. And the person that will join the team will play a critical role in understanding that and executing.
Right.
So that's,
yeah. Well, I can tell you that one of the lessons I've learned multiple times is you really find out things when you try to start selling things. Because it's gonna because the best laid plans, right? And I did, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So to the extent that you have a hypothesis, that's a good starting point.
Yeah, and in terms of funding, there should also be an understanding that this is an executive position at a startup. So we expect, so it's a good position for candidates, for people that want to make a difference in the company, So it's not about, we're not Pearson or Engage Learning or Blackboard or so how much funding will be available for marketing at each stage? That is also part of the marketing person's success story, right? So of course we'll have some funding to go. We wouldn't be talking if we didn't have any funding, but it is part of it's not what the expectation is, that we are bringing, as I said, a team member, almost a co-founder, a team member that will execute will bring with us the company to the next stage, right? So you have like an executable business partner agreement, for example. So of course we have some funds to take us to the next stage, but then what that stage will be and how much funding, going to Series A, for example, that will be the credit that the marketing person will take alongside the team member, which is why you've seen that in our offering it is a package. So we don't want us to pay a salary to somebody. We want a team member that wants to be part of the success of the company.
Yeah, makes sense. And also, by the way, I have for better or for worse, I've participated in lots of fundraising. Mm-hmm. And it's not the most fun process, but it's a necessary one, normally, depending on how much you want to try to scale, whether that's either in product development or in building distribution. But I have met with and worked with lots of private equity and venture capitalists. So that's at least a skill set I have, if that's necessary. And I have been involved in early stage companies. So, I'm also discerning at this point a little more discerning in my career and I know you want to make sure you bring someone in who's a very good fit, philosophically, as well as just that someone you feel like you can trust, that you're going to be working together towards the same mission. That would certainly be very important to me as well.
Of course, because if the fit is not good, if the candidate, I'm being very open with this, and that's why I said I was going to do the screening interview. Because if people are not happy, nothing will work. It doesn't matter what you promise or not. The idea, the important thing is, to find a good fit. Like with the product market fit, you want also a good fit for your company, because I'm looking for a team member. I'm not looking for somebody that I will tell him what to do and I will do it and I will pay them for that. That is not what this job is about.
I completely understand.
It takes the personality that wants to make a difference in a company, to take the credit for that, to drive success, and then be proud that this product was brought to schools and to children. So that's kind of the drive that is required, and it's not it's a position that I had some other candidate actually ask me what the risk. Well, the risk is how much how good you are. Right?
Yeah. Well, I've been in 7 or 8 early stage companies. One was a huge success. The other one was okay. And frankly, the other 5 or 6, didn't turn out very well, which is pretty typical, honestly, in the market. That, it is not every company that starts out, no matter how promising, there are just lots of reasons why that they don't all make it, right? So there's risk there's obviously risk, but you certainly increase the risk if your initial team members are not completely aligned on what you're trying to accomplish, or that you can work together to figure those things out. Because sometimes, there's just trouble right down there you don't even foresee, and you have to sit down and say, okay, this just appeared. What do we do about it? What do we think? What is the best course of action based on now having new information? So I completely understand. Well, I appreciate the time. I know you probably have to.
Absolutely, yes. I really need to stop now. But as I said, this is a screening call. to kind of get an initial idea of the candidates, and I hope we'll have more opportunity to talk more in depth. But thank you so much for making the time, for your interest. And are you going to be around? I hear you're at the airport. Do you have any constraints about potential follow-up?
Well, I'm flying down to Miami. I'll be down there. I can easily be available anytime in the next few days if you need to follow up, or if you have questions or want to chat again. I can certainly make myself available.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Mark. It was a pleasure to talk to you and meet you.
It was a pleasure to meet you as well, Eleni. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good trip. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.